What's up, everybody? Gator from the South here. Twan, B, Brandon, whatever you want to call me. Let me say that again, because I don't know if it caught. What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's up? Gator from the South here. Twan, B, Brandon, whatever you want to call me that day. It's fine by me. Welcome back to the Liveless Internet Radio Show, the Liveless Podcast, whatever you want to call it that day. Really doesn't matter to me. We got some great stuff going on today. We're going to be talking about, we're going to be breaking down a video by Brother James Smalls, Professor James Smalls, Professor of Divinity and Theology at New York University, I think. And he says he's speaking about Africa, Freemasonry is Africa's child. I'm joined by a panelist, Noble Enlightenment, here today with us. And we're about to get everything going in just a second here. If you're new to the channel and don't know who I am at all, I am Brandon Walker. Like I said, I'm a content creator, a musician, also a live stream DJ on Facebook. You can check that show out sometimes as well if you'd like. If you'd like to, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you like the content. We're trying to get this video up to at least 5 to 10 likes, so please help us with that. With that being said, I'm not gonna, without further ado, I'm gonna jump right into the video. We got Noble Enlightenment. Do you want to say anything before I jump into the video here?
No.
Go jump right into it? All right, well, let me get my new theme song, my new theme music in, and let me just see how I'm gonna do this. Boom. Didn't work. Doesn't matter. My theme came in. That's all that matters. Let's get back to the video now.
By controlling the economics, politics, and culture where you live. And you can't do that unless you control the real estate, unless you control the schools, unless you control the police and the firemen. And we're not going to be able to do that until you control your mind. And so this kind of knowledge will help you take your mind back so you can be black and not be afraid to be black. Whether you want to call it whatever you want to call it, Kemet, Moors, whatever. Just in English, I'm speaking poor cracker English. I be's black, y'all. That's who I is. I is black.
Homeboy Lamont in the building. Louis V, all the way from Kentucky. Thanks for joining in, man. Thanks for joining in the stream. Share us out if you'd like to.
So, Freemasonry is Africa's child. This I put first, the Sphinx. This, everyone agrees that this is the oldest monument in the Nile Valley. This is older than any of the pyramids. No one knows the age. But there was a conference on genealogy going on last month in Bulgaria, one of those countries, and two scientists presented their, and they got an award for doing it, presented their findings that they've spent years studying, looking at the watermarks on the Sphinx, and from the watermarks, which was better calculated than anything that they've been using, it showed that the Sphinx itself is at least 40,000 years old.
Pause. What do you think about that?
That's legit.
Turn your mic on.
I think that's legit.
You think the Earth is 40,000? At least human beings are at least 40,000. That Sphinx was built at least 40,000 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's continue. Let's hear him out. Let's see what he got to say.
And I'm thinking it's 40,000 or 400,000. I don't want to really go crazy on it, but it's an enormous date. I think it's something like 40,000 or
big jump.
40,000 years old. And we talk about the first dynasty as being 3,000 BC. They're talking about something that's 40,000 BC. Well, in order to have the head of the pharaoh, it tells you that the pharaonic political concept already exists. And then to look at what they've created, the body of an animal, the head of a human, and you know on top of the head was the uraeus. You had the vulture representing spiritual energy, and you had the cobra representing intellectual energy. And what it was saying that when the human animal is trained spiritually and intellectually, that the mind governs the animal rather than the animal governing the mind. That's an extraordinary concept, and it takes centuries to produce such a concept. And so the Sphinx speaks and stands there for the whole world to see that we are older than anything conceivable. And we know that it's an African. And then I just thought I'd throw this up front. This is Professor Small in Egypt, 1983, on tour with Dr. Ben. I was young, even had a little muscle on my arm right there, got my backpack on and everything, wearing my little kufi, you know. So that was back in the day. And I'm in the Grand Temple at Luxor. So we look at Africa, this map. This is the Mercator map. This is the one that the German drew back in 1565, which most people still use, and it doesn't fully represent Africa. I did this just to deal with the deception of the European on the most simple level, on the level of a map.
You watching it?
This is the Peters projection, which is done by the satellite and the computer imaging, and it shows the fundamental difference. Now look at this one. Take the Peters projection and impose it over what they have, and see how the gray is the Peters projection. See how fundamentally different it is. Look at how the Greenland is almost as big as Africa in the Mercator projection, and it's just a little bitty island in the real one. And so they've been they falsely displayed themselves. They tried to make what we looked at. Let me go back.
So I guess he's like anti-European, basically. Yeah. Am I getting? Okay. Sounds like it. Really, okay. Sounds like it, just from the tone and the choice of words.
Okay. I was hitting the wrong button. Don't want to hit the wrong button.
How do you feel about that? Let me pause it. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, he most definitely got some hatred built up in him.
He got some hatred. but what? But I mean,
he you know, I understand where he coming from. You know, everybody has their oppressor.
Yeah. Everybody's oppressed.
But on the deeper level, what I learned, if you know, you only gonna see what you looking for.
Very true. Very true. Let's start it back on that. You gonna start back?
When you look at this map, look at the Greenland. They made it bigger than Africa. Yet you can fit Greenland, the United States, all of China, all of Western Europe, in Africa, and still have room. Okay? So I put that up to show the deception that they play on us just as children in school, and have us play on ourselves when we look at a map that is a false map versus one that's a real map. This I put up there to show the official languages of Africa right now, even though in every country we are speaking our indigenous language. Unfortunately, we're using French, Portuguese, Arabic, English, Spanish. Amharic is the only indigenous language that is the dominant official language in Africa. And I think Benin may have changed their language also to make their indigenous language the official language. And Ghana, believe it or not, is having the same conversation of moving English out of school as the dominant language and teaching people the children in the tree language.
That's good. I like
that. This
map
I put up to show how Africa was divided up by the colonialists into these countries that we now know. Each of these little pieces was a European colony, and breaking up whole communities. The people of, say, Ivory Coast, Benin, Nigeria, Cameroon, Ghana, and they're all the same people. They're all the same people. But they've chopped them up into these different nations, yet these people were culturally, politically, spiritually the same community. Mauritania, Mali, Niger, this is all the same community. Chad, Sudan, this is the same community. Sudan, Egypt, Chad, Libya, all of these are the same people. These are not different peoples. We think they're different people now because Europeans have put different names on them. So when you look at the people who are down here in South Africa, who we call the Zulu, they once lived up here in Kenya and migrated down there over the centuries. And so we've always moved all over to Africa because there wasn't no borders or boundaries. And so there's no there is a one peopleness in African people. Though we have diversity depending on the ecology that we develop in, like the Khoisan in the desert and the Twa people in the deep forests here, or the Akan people on the plains here, or the people along the Nile Valley, depending on what ecology we were in, what food we were eating, what was necessary for the survival, determine what type of development happens over the millions of years that we've been evolving. And then we get to this mighty river, which is a very important river. It's only one of the very important river, and that is this Nile River that flows from inner Africa and is fed. We like to talk about the Blue Nile coming out of Ethiopia because we were taught about that so well by Dr. Ben. But this Nile develops way down in Africa, down below Kenya and Tanzania, in Lake Nyanza, which is Lake Victoria, they call it, but Lake Nyanza, and that is fed by many of the lakes and rivers coming out of Congo.
Going smooth?
And all of these rivers in Congo is feeding this river Nile, as well as the mountains of Africa, like Lake Tana, that's coming out of Ethiopia, the Blue Nile.
What'd you say now?
What time your video on? Mine might be a little behind.
Mine on 8 minutes and 38 seconds.
And mine is in front. Mine is on 8:54.
Very familiar with that.
Okay,
and
well,
this is
it don't matter. As long as you're seeing what's happening.
Nyanza.
You know what I'm saying?
Like,
you can listen to it. And
I just wanted to put a scene. This is Kilimanjaro. The snow from this mountain is flowing down to the lakes and going into that same river.
We'll get there, ladies and gentlemen. This is a new podcast. We're going to get there.
This is
all we want you to do is share, like,
Uganda.
comment.
We don't think of the snow-capped mountains in Africa.
What's going on in your mind?
And people ski up here. There's ski lodges, and black folks is doing their thing, and we don't even have a clue. And yet this feeds into what is called the White Nile, and they all come together at Khartoum in Sudan, the Nile River in Uganda. I mean, look at that. It falls in Ethiopia. This is Dr. Carter G. He's explaining to us, if a race has no history, if it has no worthwhile tradition, it becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world, and it stands in danger of being exterminated, like we are into right now with all the killing in our own community because our minds have been screwed up with being in the penitentiary and the prison system, being on medication in the school system, being on these parole things, being controlled by crackers in our very community, being forced to live economically where we don't own a single business in our community. All these other people of color who are supposed to be our friends but have fully partnered with our enemy to exploit us is running the beauty parlor, running the clothing store, the grocery store, the hair product store, the washerette, etc. And we're going to talk about Kapasa, Salam Alaikum, your brothers and sisters. No, brothers and sisters, their behavior.
What do you feel about that? I mean, he just went in on basically everybody, the Arabs, the Chinese, anybody who come into black neighborhoods and can start businesses. For the government pays them grant money. You know what I'm saying? Like grant money, no taxes, this, that, and the third. Like as long as you have a little bit of money, you come here with a little bit of money, and you're foreign, you can start a business. You know, it's no problem. But literally, the people that helped build this country, I don't say built it. You know, a lot of black people say, we built this country. No, we didn't build. I mean, it wasn't enough of us. You know what I'm saying? It still ain't a lot of us here. You know what I'm saying? To have built this country. But what we did do is help. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now, we can't start we don't have no government grants. Don't get me wrong, there are government grants. But where we going to get the seed money? Where we going to get the capital? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like, it's this system, this conditioning of economic and disenfranchisement has made it almost impossible to get out of this cycle. And it's not just black people. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's white people in this cycle too. You know what I'm saying? Like it's almost impossible to get out of this check to check, day to day, you know what I'm saying, cycle. Unless you are making millions. And even the millionaires don't have the money that they say they have. Don't really have it like that. You know, I know millionaires personally, and they trust me, they hurting right now too. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. What do you think about that? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I agree with what you're saying. Most definitely, I feel like Professor James. Man, he got
in him. He got it.
He most definitely. he done had a couple run-ins because he feeling some type of way.
He feel a certain type of way, don't he? Like
he feeling some type of way. You know what I'm saying? He know. You know what I'm saying? I'm listening to him. I know he know his ins and outs.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, it's obvious that he's, you know, an educated brother.
Yeah,
Knows what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like that's obvious. You know, but he is definitely like hostile.
Yeah, he real hostile. He need to, you know, stop.
Passive aggressive hostility.
He talking about the enemy. They working with the enemy.
Yeah. Who is enemy?
Like, damn, calm down, brother.
All right, let's continue.
Not a look. Y'all got that, right? Okay. History is a clock that people use to tell their time of day. It is a compass they use to find themselves on the map of human geography.
Call back up now.
It tells them where they are and what they are. Dr. John Henry Clark. Yep. The ancient Egyptians were black. Now, if that's not black enough for you, one of the things we got to see throughout, we're going to see throughout, is that we wore our hair in locks in those days. Why? We hadn't probably invented the comb yet. And then it became one of the sacred styles because it was the first hairstyle of the ancestors, so you always refer back to your ancestors being the primal thing. And so...
And when you look at that, you can see they had their tools, they cut it.
Oh yeah, they cut it. Oh, you'll see. Oh no, you'll see carvings on the temple where the sisters and brothers are rolling the hair. Mainly the sisters are rolling those locks. You know.
Let me just that's one of the oldest and best ways hair techniques to groom your hair. Is just that I learned it when I had dreads. I had dreads almost down to my butt at one point, and I'm sure you can attest to this. They call it the palm roll technique.
Yeah.
It's one of the simplest, easiest, most effective ways to groom your hair and take care of your hair. You wash it, you oil it, and you palm roll it, and it looks great. Like people, there might be flyaways and this kind of that kind of thing, but I'm not white, so I'm not worried about flyaways. You know what I'm saying? I'm not worried about my hair sticking up. My hair's gonna do that regardless, whether I want it to or not. You know what I'm saying? Well, not mine because I'm bald right now. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
Anyway, let's continue.
We groomed ourselves that way. But I just wanted to open it with a statement because this whole trend we're going to see for the next 30 minutes is going to be black faces. I want to make the point because even now I hear people still questioning, is the Egyptians black? So let's just make that point as we go through, just enjoying the look. This painting from the tomb of Ramses III, 1200 BCE, shows that the Egyptians perceived themselves as blacks and represented themselves as such without possible confusion with the Indo-European, which is the Asians type, and the Semitic, which is the European type. This is a representation of the races in minute detail, which guarantee the realism of the colors. Throughout their entire history, the Egyptians never dreamt of representing themselves by the types B or...
He just said some real deep shit right there. You caught what he said? Look at this picture. The Europeans perceive themselves as Nubian, right? Black or Moorish or whatever word you subscribe to. Okay. The Indo-European, that looks like a kind of an Asian figure. Now this is an African. You know what I'm saying? That's B. C is the other blacks of Africa, pretty much similar to the Egyptians, correct? Mm-hmm. And then the Semite is supposed to be like the European, I guess. You know, He talking about some real deep shit right there. You know what I'm saying? Because you really think about it, why do people hate Jews? Like, you ever thought about that? Like, why do people hate Jews? Like, what is it? I mean, this might be some hot takes and real controversial stuff I'm talking about, but I really want to know. Like, they say it's because he killed Jesus. But, you know, that's if you believe Jesus was actually a real person, if you believe that story actually happened. Number one. Number two, so what? You know what I'm saying? There are a lot of people who killed a lot of people. You know what I'm saying?
I believe that they beef the Caucasian race and the Jewish race been beefing before. You know, it's been.
Why though?
I think that's the only people that only deal with enslaving the whole population of the world. You know, Caucasian. I don't know what point in time did they feel like they were gonna colonize the world, but they colonized the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Caucasians. Yeah, not Semitic. But see here, the way they're represented here, there's Egyptian, African. You know, pretty much the same thing. There's Indo-European. You know, the Asians, and then there's the Semite. So if the Semite is also the Caucasian, then
Who is the Jew?
who is the Jew? Exactly. Aren't Caucasians Jews technically by this chart?
I thought they were.
Let's see what Brother Smiles got to say about it. Let's continue. I don't mean we don't want to go off too far on a tangent. Let's see.
Oh, is that racist for me to think like that?
I don't know. Is that racist?
Y'all not Haitian?
Is that racist? I don't know.
And this is in the book.
I
The
have
source
no
of
idea.
this is The Civilization of Barbarism by Sheikh Anta Diop on page 66. This is in the tomb of Ramses. The Egyptians painted themselves as black. The Asiatics that Diop is called Indo-European is Asiatic looking and light skinned, and the rest of Africa as black, and the cracker as the cracker. Okay?
Oh!
They're very clear.
Hey, we
God.
might lose subscribers.
We do not.
This is the
We do not.
Story they tell.
Let me pause. Hold on, pause. I do not condone that kind of language. Let me just make that clear. I do not believe in the hate of any, particular person or race or, of any kind. We all should come together. I am for black empowerment. I am for my people. This is black media. That's the reason you see black faces on this channel. That is, that is my purpose. However, I do not condone the hate of any. The thoughts expressed here do not represent the thoughts of the Live Bliss Internet Radio Show.
Yeah, he right. I second it. I ain't got no hatred like that. I almost definitely not walking around here thinking that cracker.
Let's continue. Let's let him continue.
This is who they say they look like. This is their prototype. But every shade of brown, remember, brown is nothing but shades of black. Let's get that straight, because we get confused and crazy stuff and have silly arguments. I'm brown, I'm black. Browns are nothing but shades of black, brothers and sisters. And so they show themselves that the prototype for their essence and the cultural type by their dress is the same as they define themselves as the Comitian, as they define themselves as other Africans.
They got on that leopard skin.
Yes, sir. They're clear. That this is to symbolize the cultural type, the dress, and then the skin symbolize the genetic type. Bloembo's Cave in Western Cape, South Africa, contains the oldest cave art in the world, 70,000 years old. And you can see we already organized because we hunting together. We already got the bow and arrow, 70,000 years ago. And so there's no Kemet yet. Okay?
Say that again.
There's no Kemet yet.
At this time, there's no Kemet.
There's no Kemet
So
yet.
we know
We down in the Bloembo's Cave 70,000 years ago in South Africa.
So if there's no Kemet, then there can't be no Christianity, no Islam,
No.
no Moors,
None of that.
no Hebrews,
No.
none of that.
None of
All
that.
right, go ahead, talk about it.
Again, this is in Namibia, and what's significant is showing that this bow, which we call what is it called? Oh Lord, my brain is not. Yeah, it's talking about the type of stress that comes with the bow. It's a very powerful bow, which they tried to say in earlier times was something that came from the Assyrians. Well, we're looking at it down in Namibia about 70,000 years before there is an Assyrian. Okay. This is in Chad, West Africa, which is just west of the Sudan. And again, what you're seeing, when you look at this picture, you understand we have already domesticated the cow. Okay? And these people out there herding their cows. This is a symbol of domesticated animals. They're not chasing wild animals or shooting at animals.
Crossbow?
No, it's the cow. It'll come to me.
You better come quick, nigga.
The composite is talking about the strength it's able to do because of the shape.
Talking that shit? Not talking that shit?
Again, the
Talking
pre-dynastic
about
cave, 80,000
Crack of
years
this, crack of that.
This
Now
one
you can't.
is
Now you ain't
in
got your
what
facts
we now
straight.
call Sudan, or down where
Let me be
kingdom
quiet,
of
man. I'm just
Karma
messing around.
would develop. And here we are with animals. We are hunting. But if you look closely, you'll see people have farm tools and other things. So we've already begun and are well into what we call a civilizing process. And so that area that we were just looking at is in here. Now, in this area here, which is Nap de Plio, is an area, this is below what becomes, this is Abu Simbel. Naphtha Playa, which is in this area just west of that, going towards Chad and Lake Chad, all of the elements of Kemetic civilization is already present and found there. And there's a good book called African Genesis, which you can get on that, and another one which is called The Origin of Map. And you can see that that area, they found a civilization had developed there that was older than Kemet and had all of the components that would later make up Kemet by thousands of years. Just another map trying to show you where Naphtha Playa was. And then on this map, where is it? Okay, it's down here. This is one of the things they found at Naphtha Playa. These stones, some of these stones are bigger than Stonehenge in England. And it shows that not only did they have a clock, but they had a calendar. And it may well have been also a place of worship. But this setup that they had in place, they could tell the time, and they can also keep time of the year and the seasons. This is older than dynastic Egypt. Again, another shot at Naphtha Playa, one of those sites at Naphtha Playa. And we look at the people from the kingdom of Yam. So people who have a problem with the people being black or think of themselves as black, this is how they painted themselves. Yam, the kingdom of Yam, is the area south of Kemet. And in the kingdom of Yam, one of the great kingdoms that developed before Kemet was the kingdom of Karma. And this is from the Medjay
I've heard
temple
of that one. I've done a little study
there.
on that.
And this is the way they painted
Karma.
themselves, with what we call nappy hair, or they've got hair locks, short locks, and these are soldiers, and you can see they have bows and arrows already. This is pre-Kemet. This, again, the people from the kingdom of Yam, as they are coming to pay tribute to the people in Kemet, bringing from the south gold, bringing perfume, incense, bringing animals and skins. But again, I wanted to show that they were black. They saw themselves as black and brown. They understood that that we were all these variations, not just now. We didn't just get brown when we came to America. People say, oh, y'all got to mix with the white man, so y'all brown. No, we were brown before Egypt, and we were black before Egypt. And the point of these photos is to show the blackness of things.
Facts. Them facts. What you think about that?
I think we might have been a little darker.
A little darker, a little bit darker. Yeah, might have been. Yeah, because it's depending on where you from over there. Because there's some people over there that I've been like in some places. You can go places where people are as light as Arab, or maybe even your more fair-skinned Frenchman. Because the French people aren't really even white. You know what I'm saying? If you go look at them real close, they have more of a reflection of like an Italian kind of olive skin color. It's not. There's melanin there. They're not straight up blonde hair, blue eyes, lacking melanin. You know, most of them aren't. Europeans vary in shades of darkness as well. You know what I mean? They actually white people do have melanin, contrary to popular belief. Just not a vast amount of it. Because if they didn't have melanin, they wouldn't tan. You know.
Yeah, they're right. They're right.
With that being said, let's go ahead and start it over again. But wait, but like you said, what did you think about that? So you're saying we were a little bit darker before we came over here to America, you think?
Yeah, a lot darker.
A lot darker. Okay. James Smalls.
This is the ancient kingdom of Karma in the Sudan. This is somewhere between 3,000 BC, but this is about 4,000, 3,000 BC. You can see the layout of how enormous these temples were. And this is some of it that is still left standing in decay. But you can see the fantastic geometry that had to be employed. And you can see here they were pillar temples. There is no Greek, there is no Rome, there is no Kemet yet. This temple in Kerma, which we rarely discuss, I'm going to be visiting this summer when I go to Sudan. And so this is one of the great kingdoms that would lead to the great kingdom that will become Kemet. This is the temple of Solab, is also in the Sudan. And in this area, these temples are pre-Kemetic temples. The ancient Egyptian had 3 written scripts. It's important to know because people like to talk about writing. When we wrote our scripts, there was no other written scripts anywhere in the world. You know, this is a pre-dynastic.
We got our first caller. Caller for the
What's
day.
up? What's up? What's up?
Jonathan Brooks, all the way from Jonathan Brooks. What's up, my first caller? Where you at, Jonathan?
No, I'm in Oak Grove, Kentucky right now.
Kentucky. Sorry about that. If you don't remember, Jonathan Brooks was also a guest on one of my more popular episodes. Maybe, what was that, about a month ago or so?
Yeah, about a month ago. So I got to pause. Okay.
Turn us down a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you loud and clear.
Okay, we got you too. We got you in here. All right, now we're discussing this video we're looking at today. Basically, Professor James Smalls, he's a divinity scholar and theologian at New York University, I think. And he is discussing how Africa is Freemasonry's child, how all of this stuff came from Africa. And he's showing these black images, these black faces, depicting that all these Africans, you know, contrary to popular belief, depicted themselves as dark-skinned, you know, definitely tan-skinned people. That's how far we've gotten so far in the video. What are your thoughts on that? As far as, you know, all this stuff that we have nowadays that we know of as religion and politics and all of this, you know, basically everything that they said that the European brought over with Freemasonry, because it's no secret that Freemasons started this country. The Freemasonry, you know, there's Freemasonry built into the very city designs that we ride the city streets every day. With that being said, what are your thoughts on what he is saying that Freemasonry is Africa's child, and that, well, we haven't gotten that far for him to explain it just yet. But I kind of get where he's going with it, and I'm sure you do as well, being the educated brother that you are. And by the way, give a little intro and let people know who you are, and just go in on the topic. Jonathan Brooks, everybody.
Peace and blessing, everybody. I'm Jonathan Brooks. I am a native of Ellisville, Alabama. I am a combat military veteran. I am a Christian in the sense of true Bible Christianity. I don't subscribe to the nationality of African American. I subscribe to the nationality of being an Israelite, one who descends out of the loins of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I believe that Jesus Christ, or Yahweh Shai, or Yeshua HaMashiach, all the same person. I believe he is the Messiah, come back to redeem this Negro and eventually going to take him back home to Israel and whatnot. So, all praise and honor to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Peace and blessings to everybody. I'm just listening to the brother speak, and a lot of stuff that he's saying, you know, I really don't have an issue with. You know what I'm saying? If, you know, Freemasonry and everything started in Africa, hey, that's cool with me. You know what I'm saying? I don't subscribe to it. You know what I'm saying? But if people choose to, then, you know, that's on them. Mm-hmm. You know, me personally, I'm a different type of brother. You know, when people, you know, when we get into topics about religion and stuff like that, do your thing. Yeah. You know, if that's what you subscribe to, do your thing. But I've shared this with you before. When you cross over into the Hebrew text, the Israelite text, I won't say Hebrew text because Israelites are Hebrews as well. Everybody that came, you know, there are several nations of Hebrews, but when you venture over into the Israelite text and you come out of pocket, that's what a lot of my Israelite brothers and sisters feel offended, and then we have to check it. But the issue or the topic what's going on today, hey, I'm just listening to the brother, you know. You know, I agree with some of the stuff he was saying. Like, I think it's probably like a few minutes ago, he was saying, like, before all this happened, there was no Kemet, there was no Hebrew, there was no stuff like that. I think he said about like 3 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. I would somewhat agree with that because, you know, the book I subscribe to, the Torah and Tanakh and the New Testament, I can't find the Hebrew and none of this stuff way back before all this stuff. I could go back to Adam and then, Seth, Cain, Abraham, stuff like that. There wasn't a Hebrew, everything back then. So if he has proof to show that what he's talking about is stated way back before then hey, right on, brother.
Let me ask you. So you were saying that he was saying that a Hebrew did not exist back in Africa, and as long as he showed you the documentation to prove as such, that you would be fine with that.
And it depends on how you use the word Hebrew, because some people like to say, well, Hebrew started with Heber, or some people say Hebrew just means a wayfaring or a wandering man.
Well, explain that, because I think that's very interesting. Explain what a Hebrew is, what an Israelite is, just a little bit, so we can understand that a little bit better.
Well, I think, and just putting it like in layman's terms so people can understand, I think a lot of people give notoriety to the first Hebrew being Abraham. For what reason, I do not know. So, if Abraham's the first Hebrew, okay, cool, got it. But now, that means that out of his loins, it's been many nations of Hebrews, like the Ishmaelites. They're Hebrew. Everybody came out of Abraham are Hebrew. And just to go back, not to really get off topic, but dealing with anti-Semitism or Semitic. Anybody that came out of Shem is Semitic.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Did you see that image that we just showed a minute ago about how the Egyptians perceive themselves and other Africans, other people then the Indo-Europeans and then the Semites? Did you see that image?
I came in on the tail end of that. I saw like the four figures up there. I didn't really hear him speak about it much. I think I came in a little late.
Yeah, I wanted to get your take on that, and I asked the question at the time, like if people hate Jews so much, and the only image here that shows a Semite shows actually what we would consider a Caucasian person, is that like a self-hate for Caucasians against Caucasians? Is it like what they consider Jews, nowadays? Like, and I don't want to be controversial. I'm asking a serious, scholarly question. I really want to know, what is the hatred for Jews?
The thing is, dealing with what I subscribe to and what many other brothers and sisters subscribe to in our belief, that those people in the land are not the real Jews anyway. Jew is really just short for Judah, one tribe out of 12 tribes of Israel. Mm-hmm. When you go back, if you're dealing with the Bible, you're dealing with Noah, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, the Gentiles, or what we call so-called white people, Europeans, they descend from Japheth. Mm-hmm. And even one of Japheth's descendants' name is Ashkenaz. That's where you get the Ashkenazi people from. And most of the people in the land today are Ashkenazi Jews.
Yes, that's true.
Ashkenazi.
This is true.
Gentile.
That's facts.
But the Jews are supposed to come out of Shem. The Israelites out of Shem. Mm-hmm. They are the real people. That's why you have so much turmoil and stuff going on in the land today, because they are not the right people. So you're saying that there is an identity crisis, an identity theft. Yes, it's the biggest identity theft on this doggone planet. You got the Negro running around here thinking he's everything but the one thing he is. Now that's if you subscribe to the Bible. Mm-hmm. The Bible teaches that these so-called Negroes in the world today are really the chosen people of the Most High, the Israelites, according to all the curses and the blessings and promises and what was foretold years ago to happen to us. You turn on the TV and everything, and you can see it going on. All right, Noble Enlightenment wants to chime in here for a second. I hope you can hear him. I think you can. If you can't, I'll put the phone up a little closer. Go ahead, Noble.
Okay, my brother. I was trying to get to see. I know you say you're a Hebrew Israelite. That's a Christian. I was trying to see if there's a big difference other than the fact, or is the difference like that you feel like a Hebrew Israelite? I feel like that black people is the Jews. Is that the difference, or is it more than that?
Well, I claim Israelite being my nationality.
Okay.
My conviction is Christ. So it's no different than somebody saying, I'm African American, but I believe in Jesus and I try to follow his ways, so I'm a Christian. But I don't subscribe to the term African American anymore. I call myself an Israelite who believes on Christ. I follow his teachings, so I'm a Messianic Israelite, or in today's term, I'm a Christian. You know what I'm saying? So, what was the last part of that question you had?
Oh, I was just trying to see if there was like the difference between Israelite and a Christian. Is there what a difference? Like, what make you an Israelite?
Christian is just something that, that's just Christian is just, in layman's term, follower of Christ.
Okay.
A follower of Christ. Now, being an Israelite has nothing to do with your conviction is, because you have Israelites who subscribe to Islam, Israelites who subscribe to Buddhism, Hinduism, whatever. Like I said, being an Israelite is just your nationality. What you subscribe to, whether it be the Islamic faith, Christian faith, or whatever thing, that's something totally different.
And I think that's an important topic, nationality. I think that's an extremely important topic. We're going to cover that in another episode. Definitely, I'm going to be but playing some Taj Tariq Bey, who is a nationality quote unquote expert for the African peoples. So we're definitely going to cover that in extensively in another topic. I wanted to get back to here the concept of what we were talking about here. These Jewish people creating basically a false identity. I'm not saying this. I am just trying to get an understanding of what's being said. Correct. So there has been an identity theft, an identity crisis, and the affected people are the actual true Israelites, who can be black, brown, white, whatever. They're just not what we consider to be Jews today. Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I understand that. Now, what did you think about when Professor Small? I don't know, you didn't saw this part of the video, but what did you think about when Professor Small says that during the beginning part of the video, he was saying that the Sphinx was possibly 40,000 years old? Do you think that civilization it's possible that civilization has been around that long, and that we've had techniques to cut and saw the stone, even at that earlier date, and to have such precise astrological implementation of said stones? Do you think that that's possible, that long ago we started doing these things?
I'm giving you an answer. It may not be popular to the listeners because I'm a real simple guy. I believe in simplicity. Do I believe it's possible? Sure, I believe it's possible. Do I know that it's that long ago? I can't answer that for sure, because even in our scriptures, it says, in the beginning God created. Now, if you want to say that was 100,000 years ago, okay, cool. If it was 6,000 years ago, okay, cool. I don't have a date. All I know is in the beginning he created, and then it goes into a story, and everything comes after that. So it's very possible that they had these tools and everything to do stuff a long time ago. I don't know. That's not something that I would preach home hard and try to instill as a doctrine in order to prove something. I would only be speculating. Yeah,
absolutely. Great answer to that. Not either yes or no. Very.
I'm just being honest. I don't know.
You're great at it. You're great at it. Great at it.
I don't know. Do I put it past it? No, I wouldn't deny it.
Yeah. I think that a lot of things that we think of as far as time and space, we really don't know what we're looking at or what we're talking about. We speculate, we do tests, we do radiocarbon dating and different other tests to geological studies, study of the different layers, sedimentary, the different levels of sediment to see what kind of, how long ago we thought things happened. But to be completely honest, all of these are extremely inaccurate. To be completely honest, to my understanding. Don't get me wrong. Some of these things are extremely accurate down to a T, but then some of them aren't. And you have to be able to discern, for yourself You have to be able to go and look at the data for yourself. That's where critical thinking comes in extremely handy. That's why I try to, teach that as much as I can. Critical thinking, and it's not necessarily, looking at everything as a cynic. Going into every situation thinking that, oh yeah, it's wrong automatically, and you have to prove it to me that it's right. What critical thinking is being able to research, being able to study, being able to find the sources, validate them, being able to line them up beside each other, see which parts compare, and being able to come up to it with a conclusion based on the studies that you've done, based on the research, based on the validity of the research, the reliability of the sources. It gets so confused nowadays.
I agree with that.
Now, Noble Enlightenment, you were saying something earlier about this video in particular, about the derogatory words that were coming out and that kind of thing. What were you about to say?
Go ahead. I thought you was talking about the stories of the Genesis, where the stories of the Adam and Eve story came from.
Oh, well, you can go on. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can go into that. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier as well. I definitely want to get Jonathan's take on this. Matter of fact, we're going to take down this graphic here, and we're going to go right into another section of this, which is basically just Jonathan, me, and Noble Enlightenment going to talk you to death. So go ahead with the Genesis story. He's going to talk about what his thoughts on that, and we're going to get your thoughts on it, Jonathan. Go ahead, Noble.
From my research, I find that the story in Adam and Eve were fabricated from the walls of Egypt. Where they was talking about the goddess of, I don't know her name. I'm not gonna, but it's on the walls of Egypt, the goddess that had to go to the tree of life and feed it to her husband so that he can become like her or whatever and rule or something like that. But it's in Genesis. But to touch on the very another touching on top of Genesis,
he broke up for a minute. Hold on a sec. Yeah, hold on. Let him come back. Okay, back. Okay.
Okay, my brother, I had wanted to talk about the Book of Genesis. I had now that I should ask you, how do you feel about that? I had just said through my research, I had found that story of Genesis was fabricated from the walls of Egypt with the goddess lady that she had to go to the tree of the life to feed her husband, so that he could also become a god, like she was. That story had been changed and watered down over a period of time. And also, my brother, you can still hear me. I feel like this. If you read the story of that story I'm talking about, like I haven't read the Walls of Egypt. I haven't been there. I just heard, through the research when he was telling me about it, and I had to go back to that video to show you. But like right now, I have read in the Bible where it says that Adam was told that he would die if he ate from the tree, and Eve ate from the tree, and at that moment, Adam did not know, you know what I'm saying, what to go for, because he was told that whomever would eat for it would surely die. And he hearing another side come from somebody else, and they actually got, you know what I'm saying, they came to him like, this is proof that what you was told ain't the truth, I'm gonna eat it, and they give you knowledge. Now I want to know from a Hebrew Israelite point of view, now what you think about that part when he said God told Adam that whoever ate from the tree on good and evil they'll die, and then Eve ate from it and she did not die, but she knows she was naked, and like the serpent said, the fruit held knowledge. It actually held knowledge, and it wouldn't kill nobody.
Well, my stance on that is, when the God of the Bible, when the God of the Bible created man, He gave man an instruction that he could eat of every tree of the garden, and it's just talking about. It's not talking about literal trees, of course. You had the tree of life there, which represents Jesus or Christ, everlasting life, and then you had the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which represents Satan. He told man, you can eat of every tree in the garden, but don't go over there messing with the tree of knowledge of good and evil, because the day that you do will be the day you die. Now, we saw man, Adam, he didn't do it. But then later on, his wife come on the scene, and the serpent or Satan approaches her and said, the God surely said you cannot eat of every tree that's in the garden? But what's the first thing that God told Adam? Don't even talk to this tree, because the day you do, he gonna mess you up. So she entertained the conversation she was having with Satan, and sure enough, she did eat from it because she saw the tree was something to make someone wise. So first off, she broke the commandment, and God said the day you eat thereof, you're gonna die. But then she took it to her husband, and he did eat. Now Adam had the point; he had the authority to rebuke Eve. He was like, "No, woman, put that down. I ain't doing that, such and such." But we know he ended up eating anyway. And now death is on the scene. See, man wasn't created to die. Man was created to live forever, to be as God.
I got to stop you right there, because that can't be true. If we were created to live forever, Genesis, it goes on to say that God told the serpent, he said, "What have you done?" He said, "At least man reach his hand and eat from the tree of life, he live forever." It said God and that it went on to say God had a problem with us eating from the tree of life. He said,
"No. He didn't have a problem with us eating from the tree of life."
He did.
He had
said,
a problem with us eating.
We weren't allowed to eat from any tree. It said you have given them. He told the serpent, if you go on to read, he tells the serpent that you have given them the knowledge of the good and evil. Now, at least they reach their hand forth and eat from the tree of life, they will live forever. He said, "Curse ye of all livestock." He banished us all from the. He started placing curses after he stated, and this is in Genesis. He said, "At least man reach his hand and eat from the tree of life, he would live forever."
Okay.
And then after that, he cursed the snake right after. He said, it don't go on to say, "Why did you corrupt man?" It said he would live forever, and then he go on to curse us because it said now we have knowledge. Now we want to live forever. That's what I got. It did not say. Okay, go ahead.
I want to go to the spot where you were talking about what God talking about. Lest he, take forth his hand to eat from the tree of life.
Okay. This
is Genesis 3. Now a lot of stuff has happened prior to what I'm about to read. Genesis 3:22 through 24. Okay. This is after they disobeyed God. Genesis 3:22, it says, "And the Lord God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us to know good and evil."
Can I stop you?
Let me finish. Go ahead, Jonathan.
"And the Lord God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us to know good and evil." That's because he ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It says, "And now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever." What they're saying is, man has now eaten from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. He knows good and evil. I'm not about to let him sit here and be an evil creature and now eat from the tree of life and be living forever right now, because now he done tainted the whole creation. So that's why he had to kick him out of the garden. Because now he's evil.
All
right, Jonathan, let him rebut.
Okay.
Let him rebut.
Oh, you just read, when you read that, you said, it said God said out his own mouth, man has come like us knowing good from evil. That's what the serpent told. That's what the serpent told Eve. That's why the serpent told Eve that he lied, that you would become like him, knowing good and evil. God said to the serpent what the serpent told to the girl. So I want to verify that the serpent never lied, because that same you just said what the serpent said. You said God said man has come like us knowing good from evil. That's what the serpent told the girl, the lady. Okay, well, go to where the serpent spoke to the lady. He said the same thing God just said.
Hold on, let me come back to that point.
Let him go to it.
Because the serpent also said, "Oh, you ain't gonna die." See, deception is a lie that's got truth to it.
Okay.
There's truth in there, but there's also a lie in it. So the true part of it is, yeah, you're gonna become as God to know good and evil. But remember what I said, man wasn't created to initially die. We weren't supposed to be dying. That's the part where Satan tripped man up on. Because once you ate of it, once you disobey God, which is sin, transgression of the law, the wages of sin is death. So he didn't die in that same day that he ate thereof, but now death has been placed on all mankind. And that's evident today because we still dying. That's why the reconciliation plan of Christ coming on the scene, coming back to take this death off of man, had to come into play. So Satan told the truth, but he also put a little lie in there.
What was the lie?
Pretty much. So what?
I said, what was the lie?
By telling man that by telling them that, oh, you ain't gonna surely die.
She did not. She did. Death didn't come until God came back and placed it. She did not. Eve did not surely die. God came back and placed death.
But God had already told him that if you eat it, you're going to die. He already told him that before.
But when Adam saw that did not happen, when somebody ate, he did not know death come from God when you don't do what he tell you. God told him if you ate it, you would die. So if that be the case, Eve did not die. Adam witnessed Eve not die. And not only did she not die, she had a gift. She had knowledge. And she told him that not only were they lied to, that this fruit contains knowledge. We're naked. The Bible confirms that they were naked.
Yeah, they were naked and ashamed. Mm-hmm.
I'm just telling you, like, when I read it, it said clear as day. It was they were naked, and they did not know they were naked until they eaten. That the fruit did not take life from them. It gave them knowledge of what was going on. Now that they had knowledge of what was going on, they were punished. And not only were they punished, that scripture that you read let me know that we have a great oppressor, because it didn't say that that I'm gonna punish you because you corrupted mankind. It didn't say that. It say that now that they know good from evil, at least he eat from this tree. That let me know that there is something that God has that he didn't intend for you to have. He intended to rule over you.
Okay, let him rebut.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch where you're going with it. I'm trying to find a spot where you're going with it and try to interject into it, because what you're saying, I sort of kind of understand what you're saying. And my question to you is, are you talking about some things in the Bible are physical and some things are spiritual, and then a lot of things are both at the same time? You know what I'm saying? Because we are physically dying now, but it is a result of our spiritual death as well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But what I'm trying to get to with that Genesis 3:22, follow me. Man was created initially to live forever. God told man, you can eat of every tree in the garden except the tree of knowledge of good and evil, because the day that you eat of that tree will be the day that you die. Now, man at this time does not know anything about death. The only thing he knows is obedience to God. Obey God. Obey this deity that's telling him what to do. Eve comes on to the scene. The serpent, who's already down here on the earth, goes to Eve and tricks her and gets her to eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. She then takes it to the man. He eats thereof. So now we deal with a righteous God. He has to punish you now because you disobeyed. So now death has come onto the scene. So now by the time we get to Genesis 3:22 from that scripture, unless ye take also the tree of life and eat, man is already wicked. So now you got a wicked species on this earth because they disobeyed the commandment in the first place. Now, I'm speaking like a Most High now. I'm not about to let this wicked man now eat from the tree of the tree of life and live forever. So now I got to kick him out of here, and now my reconciliation plan has to come into effect to redeem this man and get this death off of him.
Well, if he put it on, why couldn't he take it off?
The taking off part, there's a process man has to go through. That's the process of believing. That's the process of keeping his commandments and believing in the one he sent to take death.
All right, let me jump back to where I was saying. Where would you get that man disobeyed? Where would you get that man disobeyed God? And they were punished for disobeying God when the Eve ate of the apple, and when she ate of the apple, Adam, like, what you missing out of, if Adam was told that death would come from the bite of the apple, he wasn't told that if I would kill you. God didn't tell him, if you bite that apple, son, I will take your life from you. He was told that this apple get bit, it don't matter who bite it, they gonna die for sure, I promise.
I want to break in for just a second, and I want to say that I get both, and thank you for that 5th like. I really appreciate that, man. Now our next goal is 10. We can do it. And if you're here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you've been here this long, you haven't subscribed, why haven't you? If you enjoy the content that much, go ahead and subscribe. With that being said, I want to jump back into this and just say this. I get both sides. Let me pull the mic up a little bit. I get both sides of what's being said. There's one argument saying that Adam and Eve, that there was a sort of a metaphorical and also literal disobedience, that there was a need for a punishment because of. I get it. I get the metaphor of temptation and being strong against some temptation when it comes to Adam and Eve. Both were presented with something that was tantalizing to them. To Eve, it was this new and interesting creature, and also this rare fruit that we weren't supposed to eat. And for Adam, it was this woman, to be quite frank, his woman, giving him this fruit that I know I'm not supposed to eat. However, it's my woman giving me this, and she's already done it, so she's already damned. She's supposed to be dead. She's supposed to, but it's not even that she's supposed to be dead. It's just that she's already damned. So the love for her, I get the metaphorical and the symbolism in it. His love for her, his devotion for her, caused him to just be like, damn. You know what I mean? Right. God damn. You know what I mean? I got to go down with you. You know what I mean? So I get the metaphorical, the esoteric, the literal, every aspect of it, and also get what, like you said earlier, I also get what he's driving at with the whole that God was not necessarily being forthright. That God was speaking in the way God in the Bible speaks. He was not speaking full truths, and that's one of my biggest qualms with the Bible in any religious text, for that matter, is that none of them really speak in full truths. I'm waiting for you to come back.
Okay, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. My biggest qualm with any religious text is that they don't speak in necessarily what I call full truths. You always have to find, you always have to seek and interpret. And these scripts, which we know couldn't be possibly literally true, a lot of it. We just have to basically leave it up to the imagination what God meant to, by this. So it really leaves a lot of room for doubt, a lot of room for speculation, for just a lot of craziness, just to be quite honest. That's my big issue with it. But like I said, I definitely get both sides of it. With that being said, I'm going to let y'all jump right back into it. And I think you were talking...
okay, what I wanted to say that God, in Genesis 2, in the 2nd chapter of Genesis, when he told Adam he was like, if you eat from this tree, you gonna surely die. And then his wife eats from the tree, and what come out the serpent mouth is what comes out of God's mouth. When you call it a punishment, but how could you call it that if what the serpent tells Eve, God tells, he recited right back like, yo, they just like us. And now if he reach his hand and eat, he gonna live forever. So now everybody cursed. But God didn't say you have tricked man. He didn't say, why have you deceived man? He didn't say none of that. He said the exact same thing that the serpent told Eve, that if you eat of that, you will become like God, knowing good from evil. God said that in the scripture you just said. So like, there's no way you could classify that as a punishment if he turned around and said the same thing the snake said.
Okay, check this. Okay, let me read this. This is Genesis 2, right?
Right.
We done.
Genesis 2 and verse 15. All right, and the Lord God took the man and put him in the garden of Eden to dress and keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. So we got God saying, look, you can eat of every tree of this garden, but don't eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, because if you do, here comes the punishment, you will surely die. The same way how we do with our kids. I give you an instruction. If you disobey my instruction,
you tell your children
you will surely die.
You tell your children that you gonna whoop them, not somebody else will come in here and kill them. You tell them I'm gonna do the punishing. You tell your children you gonna do the punishing. Am I correct? It don't say that. It don't say that if you disobey me, I'm gonna punish you, or if you eat from this apple, I'm gonna make sure you. It say if you eat it, you will surely die. Like, I don't even have to be here for it to kill you, son. If you bite it, it will kill you.
So, are you saying that death comes from Satan?
Oh, no, sir. You can see where death clearly comes from. After, you remember that scripture you read where he was like, if man reach it out his hand and all that, after that, God placed death on him. Death comes from God. Satan was also cast down too. In that same, the Satan was cast down too. And now I see why the Egyptians do that in their symbolism. And now I see where that Kundalini meditation stuff. Everybody want to, and if you go to the hospital, you see the serpent wrapped around the stick. Now I see where that symbologically come from. Who is actually your friend? Who actually been at your age since the dawn of time? You know what I'm saying? Now I see why all that you ever wonder what the snake doing on that serpent on the back of that it's on the back of the ambulance, it's on the hospital.
That's for another episode.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of evident who done been there providing, like, helping you from the dawn of time. I mean, I don't subscribe to the Bible, I didn't read it because my folks, they Christian, so it was pushed on me.
So my question to you now is, how can one, I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, stuff like that, but how does one come off as someone who's skilled and knowledgeable enough to make claims about the God of the Bible if they don't even subscribe and believe in the God of the Bible? That would be like me making assumptions and claims about Islam and stuff like that, which I don't do because I don't even subscribe to the book. I have no real knowledge of the book, so I am not I am not qualified to give an assertion about the God of the Quran and stuff like that.
Well, in my, with me in my life, like I was saying, like the Bible was pushed on me as a child. Christianity was forced upon me. I was told if I didn't believe, I would go to hell. I think it's by forced on the whole world. And then if you want to get for real, how could you love somebody that if you didn't love, you would go to hell? So that really ain't love, my brother. If you want to get for real, if you got to love me, or you go, or you will perish, fam. It's probably gonna be in your best interest to love me. That ain't real love, fam. But people are subscribed to it, and I'm telling you that was pushed on me, fam. So I was hitting that Bible like my life depended on it. You hear me? So okay,
I hear you.
That's why I know a little bit about it. Like, I ain't telling you my pastor, because if we wouldn't have a debate right now if I listened to what I was told. I was told that they disobeyed God, and that's where death come from. But when I went and read it, I said, how could that be? God said the same thing the serpent said. The serpent told the girl what God told the serpent. So how did the serpent lie if he told them that he said, God said what? That ain't true. You eat it, you become like me and him. We know good and evil, and such on and such on. God turned around and tell the snake, hey, they just like me and you. You read that God said, hey, man has become like me and you. Man has become like us. The serpent told the girl that. You know what I'm saying? The reason why I didn't read the Bible and went through it like that, because it was kind of forced on me. But when I got into it, I kind of found out that the people that was making me read it did not read it, because I'm like, how you gonna believe that? It don't say that. I done been in a bunch of debates with a bunch of people, and I had to tell them, like, the book don't say that. You know, a lot of people will put their interpretation on it, but I'm like, that's not what the book said. All I can tell somebody is that the God said out his own mouth what the serpent told Eve. The message Eve got from the serpent, God turned around and told the serpent the same thing to verify that the serpent did not lie. He said, hey, they are like us. That's what the serpent told Eve. He said, no, if you eat, you become like them. You become like us.
So you're saying?
I'm saying,
so you're saying God was
in Genesis 2, where he told that child, he said, if you eat of this tree, you will die. He turned around and told the snake, he turned around and told the serpent that, hey, man has become like us.
All right.
He wasn't talking to the serpent there.
All right, I'm gonna let you rebut to that, and then we're gonna have two closing statements, and then we're gonna close this one out. I think we had a pretty good one here. I don't want to keep people on too long. Go ahead and rebut that one, if you don't mind.
Yeah, God wasn't talking to the serpent when he said, man has become as one of us to know good and evil.
Okay.
Lest he take his hand and heal the tree of life and live forever. You know what I'm saying? God, or Elohim, is just plural. It's like family. There's two of the God, the Father and the Son, and whatnot. Satan was already down here, cast out. You read in Revelations 12 and 9 when he got cast down to the earth. But then in the beginning it said, let us go and make man in our image.
That's it.
That wasn't him and Satan getting together and making man.
Correct.
God wasn't talking to Satan when he said, man that's not become as one of us, or whatnot. So my thing is, when you were saying the Bible was pushed on you, and stuff like that, and I'm tying this into my close or whatnot.
Okay.
The way the world views Christianity and Bible is false. And I can pretty much guarantee that the way the Bible was pushed on you came out of a form of tainted, corrupt Roman Catholicism version of Christianity.
I think it all is. That's his home.
Where
he originates.
The whole stuff.
I think that's his home, where it originates from, with the place you just named. I think that's the originator of the Bible, like Christianity, because the real stories come off the walls of Egypt. If
that's what you subscribe to, that's what you subscribe to. But
I can go. I want to tell you.
Well, that's for another episode. Let me finish this statement.
Yeah, let me finish this statement, brother.
All right. I'm sorry, my bad.
Hey.
I'm sorry, my bad. That's my fault, guys.
Listen. I let you talk, I shut up. You know what I'm saying? Listen, bro. Listen. The whole Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, is not a reflection of what the world calls Christianity today. That is how one can easily come up with stuff outside of the Bible and like, oh, this was first and this is why y'all lying. It's not the Bible you're going against. You're going against the false teachings of the Bible. Nowhere in the Bible, I'm just going to give some examples. I'm going to make this short. Nowhere in the Bible are we commanded to go to church on Sunday. Nowhere in the Bible is it permissible to celebrate Easter, Halloween, Christmas. Nowhere in the Bible is it permitted to pray over food, just eat it. You're supposed to keep the dietary law. Ain't no doggone Jesus did not die for you to be able to rub shoulders with the quote-unquote white man. Jesus came to take death off the scene. You know what I'm saying? There is no once saved, always saved. There is no a doggone going off to heaven somewhere. There is no when you die, you go to heaven. That stuff is not taught biblically. But what happens today is a lot of people are coming against these teachings, but I look at it like, no, this stuff not even in the Bible. What are they talking about? So, in my closing statement is, when it comes to the Bible, if you subscribe to the God of Israel, Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, Yahweh Shai, Yeshaya, whatever name you want to call him, believe in his word and do what he tell you to do. Don't try to infuse heathenistic and pagan customs into his word because it don't fit. Fear God, keep his commandments. That's the whole duty of man, according to the scriptures. That's my thing.
All right. A very poignant closing statement by Jonathan Brooks. Noble Enlightenment.
I want to make a closing statement. I appreciate you, brother, for coming on, man. I really appreciate that. How you went back, and I like that. To all the people out there watching, if you can, if information is not, concrete enough for you to take it in, don't take it as knowledge. Stray away from it. Belief is a magic spell to make you accept a lie. That's it.
All right. I think we had a very good conversation. I appreciate everybody for being here. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and give this video a like, a share, comment, something. Help us out here. What are you doing sitting around in the corner? Get out of the corner. I want a special thanks to my guest, my multi-time guest now, Jonathan Brooks. Thank you so much for being here today.
Peace and blessings, man. Always good to come on for the brothers, man.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll have you back on again. We'll have these great debates. I know this one's not over with yet, so I'm hoping we can have this one again.
That's right.
Thank you so much again. Go ahead.
I'll say, yeah. We can sit down. Next time I come back down to T-Town, man, I would like to come in the studio and sit over in the corner with my shades on and the glass.
Absolutely. Bring some of that good Kentucky bourbon down here.